Hello, well, as you can see, it's been a while since I've done video updates, so I thought I would do something a little different. I'm going to go a little bit into Opal Mizio's territory and do some vlog about television. Well, it's going to be one vlog about a few shows that I've watched recently. That would be first my first impressions of two shows, and then two shows that I've watched all the way through that I'm going to be doing some other stuff on. First, I'm going to go with Legend of Korra, which hasn't started on television yet, but the first two episodes were released as a single episode online on legendofkorra.com, probably in response to the fact that they were originally leaked, so they went ahead and put them on the site. They since took it down. Not legendofkorra.com, it was korranation.com. This now links to a Facebook site. You can get all sorts of updates and everything, so if you want, the first information on Legend of Korra, I would still go to korranation.com. It does not have the first two episodes there anymore. As for what I thought of it, well, the main thing it's lacking is a big bad. It's got our Avatar. She's different. She's kind of a firebender in a waterbender's body. That's my take on her personality. She does like to bend fire a lot, so there's a bit to that too. She's kind of going into what has developed of Toph's old job, the pro-bending thing. Well, now, because all the benders are one civilization, it involves all four. So it has, various team dynamics to work with that, a bit more complicated. It's not Earth versus Earth. It's, maybe a four-person team with one of each against another four-man team, something like that. As you might have noticed, some of the original, I don't know if they were leaks or they might have been intentionally let out and then changed, but there were ideas that bending was going to be illegal and that Korra would have to deal with that as she learned airbending. That's not the case, but we do see the beginnings of groups that are intending to make, they are regular people that cannot bend, that do not want bending to be around. And of course, we've seen this. Various mediums have certain things like that. Comic books are probably the most well-known example. People that want to make superpowers illegal. You see it from time to time pop up in Star Wars that they don't want, they might not want Jedi on a planet because they have an unfair advantage. It's not a new thing. I'm sure there's a trope for it. And it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. There's been a lot of outrage with the fact that spoilers about the series have been leaked in promotional materials. The main canon ship couple, known as Korra. Now, my opinion is if they're spoiling it and they're smart, I don't know if they're smart, but if they're spoiling and they're smart, it's because they're going to change it. They might go out for half a season and then break up and something else happens. But at this point, we don't know, so I appreciate the fact that we don't know. They might have just spoiled the ending, but we don't really know. We don't even know what the conflict is really here, other than learning airbending, which, there's a bit of a conflict there in and of itself. But when you look at the first three seasons, first Zuko, then Azula, and Iroh, and the Fire Lord. I'm sorry, Iroh wasn't the villain. Damn it, Asif Manvi. Sorry, he's more memorable than the original guy was. Even though the movie sucked, I'm now always going to remember him as Asif Manvi. But, the villain of the first season. Some cool villains there, so I really hope that Legend of Korra Episode 3 can really start with, some badass enemy that Korra needs to be able to defeat and really, go through this season with. I mean, she's already older than Aang was, more experienced than Aang was in the beginning. at least in terms of having mastered 3 skills. So really what this series needs is a really epic antagonist to make it awesome. Another series I want to give my first impression of, Doctor Who. Now this would be the new Doctor Who. I wanted to start with the first Doctor, but to the best of my knowledge, at least the best of the knowledge of the much better informed than I am people that I've spoken to, a lot of stuff, or maybe even all of the stuff with the first Doctor, does not exist anymore. This is not something where the archives were saved, rerun, reshown on the Sci-Fi Channel, saved on VHS, and then converted to DVDs afterward. A lot of this footage just does not exist. So if I can start with the first Doctor, it's only going to be bits and pieces, and it's not going to be easy. So if I want to do this now, starting with the 9th Doctor, which is what I did. Started with the 9th Doctor, watched the first episode. Apparently, the main, well, I don't know enough yet to know if the Doctor is considered the main character or the companion. Everything I've seen a one-off, like a special thing. I don't know if it was an April, I think it was supposed to be like an April Fool's or whatever. But it was like a side, standalone thing. And then I've seen this first issue. So what it seems is that the Doctor is not the main character, that the companion is the main character, which kind of makes sense, a human to view things through. All of the companions I've seen have been female. I don't know if that's always the case or not. But what we see is this girl who leaves her boyfriend after saving his life because she can go back through time. Now there's a bit more to that, but essentially that's what it is. So I don't know if we're going to find out that, I mean, she's as far as we, no, she's not even a teenager, but I hope we're going to see evidence that this was a very superficial relationship and that, her decision was for the best. Because as it is, it looks just like shoddy writing. We wanted to get her in the TARDIS, so that's the case. I don't know if that's the case. I'm going to watch some more issues and find out. I mean, some more episodes. What do I think of it otherwise? I've heard a lot on the tone of it. Basically what it seems to me is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with the seriousness that comes with an extra digit on the decimal point. It's not entirely serious, and I hear that there's a lot of goofiness to come, but it has the seriousness, the serious look that money gives it. This was something that they put enough money into it, like, we expect this to succeed. And of course, there's also the time frame, a major studio producing television nowadays puts a certain amount of money and a certain amount of polish into everything. And that's what this gets. This is not, what a 70s or 80s show would look like, or an extremely low budget show. This is, 2005 television. So it's got a bit more of a serious look to it. There's still some comedy, but it's that slight more seriousness. What's that going to come out to 10 episodes down the line? I'm going to find that out. I am intrigued enough to keep watching, but I don't know what I feel about the characters just yet, so hopefully I'll find out some more. Next 2 shows are Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I'm going to be doing a couple of text articles on these, and maybe some compare and contrast. I like them both. Short version. Long version is there are some things that Brotherhood sold us short on for the sake of rushing that the original did better. But Brotherhood is also longer, and therefore, if you watch long enough, makes up for it by having more to the story. I'm always, I'm a sucker for long stories. I find it interesting that it's split into 5 seasons, but the seasons have an end point, but it's a single conflict. There's not a season 1 conflict that gets resolved, season 2 conflict that gets resolved, season 3 conflict that gets resolved. There's really no resolution season to season. You really have to watch the whole show to get that sort of resolution. There's episode to episode resolution when it's called for, but there's not season to season resolution. And that's what I've got to say about television shows I've watched recently. My first impression of Korra in text is on the site. I do need to correct it because I said episode 1. I did not realize that it was the first 2 episodes together. I thought that episodes were just going to be an hour long this time. So I do need to make some changes to that. But other than that, my opinions and comments are all there. So you can go ahead and read that. When I finish the first season of Doctor Who, I'll probably write a text article on that as well. I might do a video, but more likely it's going to be text. So, go ahead, take a look at those, the ones that are out, and wait for the ones that aren't out, and I'll talk to you next time. Man in Black out.